Hey, peoples. As you know by now, uh, my poor brain got confused because it had to think, and I got out of sync with the syllabus as far as the material that I want to cover on a particular week. And so what I've had to do is scramble. And Marines improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's all good. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm improvising, adapting, and hopefully I'm overcoming. So what I'm going to do today is a very short thing about a continuation with what parents ask or should say to their children when they're teaching them about sexual things. This will be short and sweet. Basically, adding information to what you pretty much already have, but also to satisfy the lecture requirement for you and me. I have to post these. Not that I wouldn't like to. I enjoy it, but I can't. I can't neglect this. So, at any rate, let's move into this. Again, it'll be short. There's not a lot to say. First of all, we already discussed several items related to age. Excuse me. And now we want to see how do we tailor this when they ask questions. So the idea is to have lots of small, casual conversations about the topic, about sex. Don't overblow it, but don't undersell it either. Regular conversations can really help prevent them from doing dumb things, having risky sexual practices. And like all parents, we want to know that they're they're in a healthy state of mind, and particularly when it comes to this. Excuse me, because there's so many ramifications: STDs, unwanted pregnancies, so on and so forth. Again, to address the age, it's not a particular age. Newer research says you can begin to explore this area as, as young as a child's age of 1. Um, Obviously, they're not going to understand in-depth conversations at that. If they do, call me. We'll make a lot of money. So the idea is to start there, and then as the child grows, ages, then continue the conversations, revisit the conversations, making them more in-depth and a little more informative for them at the level that they can understand. You also want to give them the proper anatomical names of things, not the street names. And then things that naturally occur, like pregnancies, sexual content in the media. There's just a little bit of that, right? Anything related to anatomy. Have a conversation about it. As they get older, ask them questions if they'll allow you in this door about their friendships, about their romantic life if they have one. Not a prying type thing, of course. Just showing them that you're taking an interest, and always approach it from an informative kind of a view. Hey, I'm trying to help you here, not trying to run your life, just trying to help you. Talk about their plans for being responsible for their behaviors, particularly in this area. And you may even want to address pregnancies and STDs. And then they're going to have questions about for you. They're going to ask you questions. I apologize for this frog in my throat. I just had a cheeseburger. They're going to have questions, various questions from different viewpoints at different stages in their lives. And as they come across new information and new experiences, they may ask you things like, is sex bad? And depending on how they came about thinking that, or why would they ask that question, your answer, of course, would be, no, it's not bad. It just has to be handled properly, and there are consequences. You don't want them to have a negative view of this. You want to have a realistic view, and you want them to make informed decisions about their activities. What if they say, what if somebody asks me to do something I don't want to do? Then you have to have your child define what they think their limits are. And you have to consider boundaries. And this is going to take in a lot of stuff related to morals, so on and so forth, that are a part of at least your family. Talk to them about the importance of consenting to things. And how about the communication involved in telling someone, no, I don't want to do that. Are they ready to engage in activity? That comes up in puberty years frequently. If it does, then you need to ask them if they think they're ready from a lot of standpoints. Physically, obviously, is going to be, it's not going to be a mystery. But how about cognitively, and how about consequentially? So we've got to know these things. And if they ask you about your sex life, that's going to be something that you'll have to deal with without me giving you a lot of ideas here. That's going to be how comfortable you are and how comfortable you think your children will be if that discussion comes about. They may ask you, when did you start? Or did you have relations? Or conversations are pretty open now compared to days gone by. So I'll let you handle that one. Do's and don'ts. What do we do and what do we don't when we're talking about this? Well, there's some guidelines of things you should do, things you shouldn't do, but you can always go back and fix mistakes. I remember when I coached high school sports, particularly football, if we taught a player to do something and we found out pretty quickly that it was not correct, rather than admit we made a mistake, we would say, look, we're going to change this. we're going to use a better method. So it might work here. I'm not sure. Be going to be determined probably by how your child reacts to it. But let's look at some guidelines. Use direct and clear communication, even if it feels uncomfortable. You being comfortable with it is a step in the right direction, so that if you're comfortable, then you're going to hopefully share that comfort level with them. You need to tailor your conversation based on your child's age and maturity level. And we all know how that works. I know 20 some odd year olds that might have difficulties with this, and I know 14-year-olds will be perfectly comfortable. We all do. Explain sexual abuse and encourage them to talk about stuff like that, even if it makes them uncomfortable, and encourage them that if it is uncomfortable, it probably needs to be discussed. So don't hold anything back. You may want to share your own experiences going through puberty. So now we're on number 4. Covered 1, 2, and 3. This is number 4. Maybe I want to tell them how it was for me. Maybe you think that would help in their understanding of this. Number 5, talk about safe sex practices. Probably absolute in our day and time, particularly with the incidence of STDs and other things. Number 6, I think it's 6. Offer resources, books that deal with sex and puberty, websites, pamphlets. Be very careful with these things. Review them first and make sure that they are what they say they are, and not some kind of perverted thing. And then finally, encourage them to ask questions and then process their reactions to all the information that you guys have talked about. That's kind of a given. What do you avoid when you want to talk about this to your children? Here are things that you don't want to do. Number 1, don't use slang terms for body parts. You need to keep this at not a scientific level, but at a moral level somewhat. I guess you could use moral. That's your business, but at least give them the right terms. 2, discourage children from asking. Don't discourage children from asking questions. I'm sorry. If you discourage them, then they're going to shut down. This needs to be an open conversation. Don't make up answers. Number 3. If you're unsure about child's question, look the answer up, and maybe look it up together. And if they don't want to look it up with you, tell them, okay, let me go find the answer and I'll get back with you. And then finally, don't be afraid to seek out information or guidance from a healthcare provider, a mental health care provider, an educator that's educated in this area, and other reliable sources. Don't be afraid to do that. Do it. The conversation that you have is not likely to make your child sexually active. It's an informative, I'm not saying it can't, but it's really an informative session. The statistics, and I don't have them before me, but I have seen them. The statistics indicate that children of parents who talk about sex with them are more likely to put it off or to use protection if they find that they can't put it off. Studies of adolescents show that having outlets to talk about it indicates a lower likelihood of engagement and a higher likelihood of delaying activity. And the way you present it is important. Some parents take an abstinence-only approach. It's good to, in some cases, I suppose, depends on your belief system, encourage abstinence till they're ready. But don't focus entirely on abstinence. Include all the topics related to that. And if you are abstinence oriented and that's what you harp on, then they're not more likely to abstain. The statistics don't support it. So that's just a few additions to some of the stuff. I'm sorry, my computer's moving around. My dog's in here walking underneath my foot. Just a little added stuff to add to what you already have. And I'll be back with you this week with a few more things. Take care.